All right, everyone, thank you for joining class today. Please take a seat. I'm waiting.
Hi, Babo!
Yes, hello.
What?
I can see you. You're waving with your hand very aggressively.
Sorry, I just really like this class.
It's all right. I'm not that famous. Stop doing that, please.
Okay, fine.
All right,
Can't
everyone.
stop grittying in the middle of class. What are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, everyone.
Stop. We're gonna get in trouble. We're gonna get in trouble. Let him talk.
My first question to you guys is, what is sociology? What can you tell me about it?
Isn't that what leads to communism?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Isn't that I know ology is like studying stuff.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say
The
that sociology
study.
is like the study of the Joker because he said we live in a society.
Not quite.
The
Oh.
silence was so loud.
The study of social interaction and behavior.
Thank you, Lexi.
Woo!
That is
Welcome.
closer to what I'm imagining the right answer be. Not fully correct, but we'll get to that later. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
I was gonna say that.
Thought of the
Thank
same
you.
thing.
No, I'm just kidding.
Any ideas?
We don't know anything, babe.
No, I actually do. I do know a little bit, but for the bit,
Oh.
I don't want to answer actual seriousness so that Babo can tell us about it in a little bit.
All right, it's good for analyzing social systems, analyzing social behaviors, analyzing society, and today is more about how science as we know it might be a lie, because objectively it is trying to account for human behavior through research and through several steps in that research, but human failure is still a thing and it doesn't account for that. People do research. We have to believe that these people tell us the truth, and if you understand research, you know they're actually just trying to stray away from the lies, because one objective truth can never be obtained. We can never actually get to the
he's
actual truth of things.
short-circuiting.
And our biggest problem is with science, statistics, and all that. We are just trying to stay away from lies. It's all it is. It's all it's ever has been. That's all we're doing.
Same as it ever
Yeah,
was.
with that, it's
Professor
improbable.
Babo, are you okay?
No,
Should we call in amber lamps?
obtain a collective truth. And with that, I want to welcome you to the episode of... You want to say it or do I say it?
You're the host.
Welcome to the How Can You Forget
Oh.
podcast, show where your hosts, Camp, Gurdon, and Lexi talk about a subject that maybe you've forgotten about, never heard about, or it's simply too good to forget. I think that was the first time I've done the intro ever, actually.
It was.
I think it's
Professor
normally
Babo.
Ooh, I didn't want to take it away from you. Also, I wanted to get a bit louder, but I'm living with people, so I'm not doing that.
Damn, bro, lives with people?
Babo's not a
Okay.
hermit. Wow.
Yeah, okay. And with that, we can start the episode. It's about sociology. How could you forget about that? Because nobody cares. All right.
Because nobody cares.
I can't forget about
Oh my
society
goodness.
because we live in one.
Yeah, okay. With that, sa, party no hajimari da! That means, all right, let's start the party in Japanese.
Damn.
Yo, party
I didn't
starting
realize
now.
you were bisexual or bilingual.
I'm actually trisexual, thank you.
Ah!
Oh my
If you
god.
mention anything sexual, he'll try it. That's what trisexual means.
Hey.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's true. But
I might not. Okay. Let's start.
The wonderful world of sociology. What did you have for
Yes,
us today,
let's go.
Babo?
That's a title drop.
True.
So we live in a society. Thank you for saying that, because it is the one thing I put up in my document with the font size
so I didn't want to
30.
steal your thunder. It was too perfect not to.
It is also how I started a paper about the sociology of order once. I actually did start with the sentence, we
You
live in a
submitted
society.
a paper.
Yes,
with we
I
live
did.
in a
That starts when
society.
we live in.
Oh my goodness.
It's the only subject, I believe, next to other social sciences, where you can do that and get away with it without them realizing you're just making a meme.
Right.
Yeah,
I do
okay.
love memes like that where it's like it's like a double entendre where it's like it's a true sentence, but there's also a comedic value to it, like kind of like a wink and nudge kind of deal.
But
Right,
what if
it's funny.
society not?
What if it lived in you?
That would be religion.
Shit.
Whoa.
That's a true. Okay, we're getting pretty deep for the very beginning of the
Yeah,
episode.
we're so
Keep going.
cerebral here. We gotta tone it down.
It's also a teaser
Cerebral.
for later.
Oh no, we're using our
Ooh,
brains
okay.
this episode. That's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Let's go.
No, don't worry. We're not using our brains too much. I'm using
Oh
my brain.
hell yeah!
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
not.
No, but okay, for real now. This is actually covering part of what I've learned throughout my bachelor's in the first and second semester. And we're only like scratching the surface, just so that we're all knowing what I'm talking about soon.
Call him
like
a
roughly,
DJ
if you-
because he'd be scratching that surface. Am I right?
Where do I want to start? Yeah, what is sociology? Like, actually, that was a serious question from the intro bit, but I want to go into it a bit more. Put simply, it is studying social systems. But if we want to get more complicated about it, it's studying societies of any kind. No matter if human, flora, fauna, inanimate, institutions, organizations, and whatever else you can analyze that you can kind of imagine a social system in, or interactions with other social systems, including collisions, interactions, and overlappings, and more. Also, F you Google for lying about it in your quick search results, because AI sucks. They don't know about that. I actually tried
What?
to
The
Google
AI
that.
overview was wrong?
The AI lied to you?
Who could have guessed?
What?
The AI lied to me, right? No, I did Google it just because I wanted to see what the AI tells me about it, and it didn't even cover like a third of what I just said. And no, I don't have a source for that. It's things I learned throughout my studies. And
Source.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there
made
you
it
go.
up.
You are the source. Like, you
Yeah.
are literally the source.
my sources, I made it the f up.
It came to me in a
No,
dream.
no, for real. I'll be the source because I have a master's in sociology. I should mention that maybe. This is the only reason I'm qualified to talk about this.
Yeah, true. That might have been a good.
Qualification. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really important on this podcast, Babo, that we show what qualifications we have. So, like, whenever I talk about random bullshit like sea land, then I actually have a master's degree in sea land, and Lexi has
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
shut
exactly.
up.
has a
We
master's.
don't want to spread misinformation. We got to
No.
make sure we're
Shut
accountable.
up.
I think you should
Lexi.
do that. Like next time you talk about something, you should have someone take a picture of your certificate and have it in the episode somewhere. We can
Right.
put up
Well,
mine here.
we'll take the same photo. Well, let's take a random photo of a certificate,
Just
and then every single
Photoshop the
episode we
word.
edit it. So
Oh
we
my
change the name
goodness.
and the subject.
You just take a picture of your high school diploma. Like you
Oh my
graduated
God.
from like Sealand High School, graduated
Yeah.
from Sigmund
Sealand.
Freud High School.
Graduated from,
Hey,
From
babe,
New Zealand.
can you send me a picture of your degree and I'll use it as the baseline?
Oh my god.
Mine, sure. I could. If you want me to, I could actually
not right now, but later.
Oh my goodness.
Stop the podcast, walk, find your degree.
Yeah.
This is important.
Oh my gosh.
No, but
Okay.
anyway, go on.
Yeah, back on topic. Basically, if there is any social aspect worth studying, you can apply sociology or sociological methods of research to it and analyze it that way, either empirically or theoretically, which theoretically analyzing things is a whole different beast. There are so many methods to
Mister.
theoretically analyze, interviews, textbooks, and whatever. Sociology borrows a lot from philosophy, politics,
Pretty much all
philosophy,
the social
politics,
sciences.
social psychology. Yeah, there you go. Those three: philosophy, social science.
I have a genuine
psychology.
question. Could you
I have a genuine
apply
answer.
like yay?
ahead.
Could you apply like a sociological study or whatever like on, because I know you mentioned it, not just humans, like could you do it on like ants? Like could you study like ant behavior and like their structures and stuff
I'm
realistically?
glad you asked, because I did have seminars on human animal interaction. Technically, it doesn't have to be human animal interactions, but yeah, you could analyze the animal world and how they act and like their social systems. They definitely have some. You'd be surprised to find
That's
out that
cool.
animals are not stupid.
Yeah.
I have a
Really?
cat.
You know-
I have a cat. That's a false statement, Babo. You can't lie to me.
Whoa.
I'm also pretty stupid.
We will actually get to cats later because there is something I can there is an empirical example I can apply to that. Oh yeah, I do have a note that actually says no sources used for the info above. Look at me, I use a master's degree to explain entry level info.
I'm using my degree, people.
Source, what I paid money to learn.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of sources, I have my sources listed. I will send them to you later. But for some, I
Thank
actually
you.
did use a little bit of Wikipedia because there are books that I do not want to go through in detail or buy. I'm not going to
Yeah.
do that for a podcast. I'm sorry. but I did
We've
confirm
done
that the info is
Wow.
correct.
Okay, I see how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
You fit right in. We do that all the time.
I already spent money
true.
on both of you guys.
That's a good point, actually. Never mind.
Wow.
Okay, let's go a little bit into the history. This will already take a lot of time. Where did sociology even start? It started somewhere around the 1400 with a lesser known person. Okay, before I get to that, most people think sociology started with a French sociologist, which is not entirely incorrect because that's how it got popularized. But that's the Eurocentric view. And I don't like that because we already are pretty Eurocentric in the way we see things in our world most of the time, or American centralized. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
technically, first traces of sociology can be found somewhere in Tunisia, which is Africa, which you could also say is sort of Arabian. Anyway, before I say anything wrong, Ibn Khaldun, that's the guy. He was born in Tunisia. And Ibn Khaldun,
Let's go.
some consider him the father of sociology because he was the one. He was one of the first people to study social conflict and social cohesion in the 14th century. 14th century. Excuse me, I said the 1400s. It's not entirely correct. I'm going to fix it here. So,
All right, stop recording. Let's go again. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. Yeah. So in his, this is going to sound very funny, in his Prolegomena, which is another word for introduction. In his introduction for his book, he included 7 critical issues he saw in historical data. He was mostly analyzing history and tried to understand society that way. So the 7 points. First was the partisanship towards a creed or opinion, then overconfidence in one's sources, the failure to understand what is intended, a mistaken belief in the truth, the inability to place an event in its real context, the common desire to gain favor of those of high ranks by praising them, by spreading their fame, and, last but not least, the most important is the ignorance of the laws governing the transformation of human society. Essentially, he did his own historical analysis of social systems, namely dynasties. He found out these systems were laying out their seeds to predetermine their downfall and then relive that process. So he was basically just analyzing a cycle of never-ending bullshit in these dynasties to try and understand what they could do differently to improve in
History
some sort of
repeats
way.
itself.
Yeah, for real. I mean, that's kind of what I figured, because like hearing the list of things that he was analyzing, it's like so many parallels could be drawn between that and what's happening in current year. You know,
Yeah.
like it's very history is repeating
2022.
itself. Society is like war, and war never changes. Or I tried to make that joke flow better. It didn't work.
It's
All
okay.
right, throw out the episode again.
War.
You know what I mean, though.
I'm gonna quote Metal Gear Solid 4 now, the intro. War has changed in some way.
Yeah.
It didn't change
I agree.
in the way we understand
Now
it.
we got drones. Sorry.
There.
Exactly.
He's not
No,
wrong.
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. War has changed. We don't use human resources to lead wars anymore. Not as much. We use a lot more technology, but that's not what the episode is about.
Yeah, that's too big of a rabbit hole.
Well, I think I actually linking back to what you were talking about, Babo, of like there's changes, but there's not changes of like this guy, I would probably butcher his name, but you were talking
Ibn
about
Khaldun.
he was studying this, and one of the things that you mentioned was that he noticed of people like that they would suck up to these leaders or these people and be like, oh my gosh, King Cheese is the best king ever that we've ever had, to try to like get himself like this whoever the historical person was, get
King
that
Cheese,
person
yeah.
of like like the person that wanted to like please King
The
Cheese
mouse.
and become the mouse
King
become
Mouse
like
was eating up his works.
like the right hand of the king. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this king rocks. Like that's still such like a human behavior sort of thing, to try to like suck up to somebody or get in their good graces in order to like selfishly kind of promote yourself, to be like, see, I was out there, I was talking about how awesome you were, so like you should honestly just like make me second in command because like I helped spread how cool you were. Like that still happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I have opinions on that. I don't like it. That's my opinion.
I don't think most people
Wow, that's
do.
scathing.
Unless they're the ones doing it.
True, I agree.
Unless you have a benefit from it.
Right.
wrapping that up because that's all I'm going to say about Ibn Khaldun. That's basically the basis of sociology in some sort of way. I mean, here's the thing. It's the first trace of sociology, right? We don't know if people before him have thought about society and things like that in detail. It's just the last recording of anyone doing something more scientific, because during that period of time, we also had, that was like around the Renaissance time, I think, or the medieval times in Europe still.
Yeah, I think so.
And people over there in Europe, they've been throwing around literal shit at people and building their castles and whatnot, while people in Asia have actually tried to dip their toes in something that we know as science today.
Anyway, bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
If you don't believe me, look it up.
Go to Asia.
Yeah, if you don't believe me, go to Asia now.
I'm taking a trip to China right now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Maybe not there.
Tip to tip, too.
While we're on the topic of China, in your last episode, you were talking about blood and honey. And now,
oh my goodness.
Yo!
I am still watching all the TCU movies is on my list of video ideas now, by the way.
Also,
I should just give an update on that.
Also, this is actually a very quick interjection. Thank you for reminding me. Lexi and I don't know if Lexi met this person. I've worked with / I know somebody who worked on the Pinocchio Blood and Honey movie. They made the design for Jiminy Cricket, like the evil cricket in that movie.
Cricket.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was scrolling through Facebook and they were like, wow, really excited to show off this model I made for this Pinocchio rechained or restrung movie or whatever. And I was like, whoa.
It was restrung.
But wanted to point that out there, or throw that out there. Real quick.
Damn. We got friends in high places.
And low places like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
I just wanted to say that's the Chinese government because the minister there has been called Winnie
okay,
Pooh
we can't go to
before.
China anymore.
Yeah, well, there goes that
sure.
one.
They won't like us.
Yeah.
Well, Babo said it. I didn't say it. I said it, I think, about a very good movie.
Okay, so anyway, reeling this in, basically the point was that before the Renaissance in Europe, there were countries in Asia, probably a lot of China, honestly, that they were throwing around more ideas and, doing more writings at the time when Europe was still kind of struggling.
Exactly. Ibn Khaldun also studied topics like economy, Islamic theology, Jesus, and political theory. But for the sake of the episode and its proportion, I'm not going to go into this any further. It would blow everything out of proportion.
So he was a scholar, basically.
He was a scholar. He was a he was a prehistoric scholar.
Prehistoric.
He was a dinosaur?
Yeah. Now he's post-historic.
There you go.
Talking about post-historic, we're coming to the first French sociologist, also just general sociologist in Europe, Auguste Comte. And he's the one who basically built the foundation of what sociology is today. He wanted to create something called positive science, and he based sociology on he based it on physics, because he wanted to analyze society or like social systems like physicists analyze the world, basically, and how those rules work. So originally he called it social physics. So he tried to apply
like mathematic rules to social situations? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he was trying to do in some sort of way. Not as mathematically, but mostly. He did implement empirical observations, but he would, and I quote, formulate the laws governing the organization and movement of society. That's what he was trying to do.
And did he succeed?
I mean, he did. It's the foundation. I just said that. If you
he definitely got people
me,
talking about it.
Yeah, you got Babo talking about it.
Yeah,
you got me talking about it, and I learned it at the University of Hamburg. So it got them talking about it.
Let's go.
True.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
it's like a giant domino effect. It's like this dude thought about society one time, and then you got a degree 500 years later,
and now we're paying taxes.
Now we're all the Joker, baby.
Now we're all the Joker. I can't believe they invented Society Walk so Joker could run. Honestly. That is, I think, the dumbest thing I've ever
let
seen.
Babo actually give us information, for Pete's sake.
Society walked so Joker could run.
Yes.
There you go. I made Babo laugh. I'm fine.
It's the headline of the episode. I don't like the other one anymore. No, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay. Where was I? Yeah, he thought it could be useful to direct society in some sort of way, like making scientists of society like prophets of some kind. That people who
interesting.
analyze society, that they're like the ones with the most knowledge and how to direct us. He claimed that, like Isaac Newton formulated the law of gravity, social scientists must formulate laws for the social universe by accurately analyzing and I quote again, the circumstances of phenomena and to connect them by the natural relations of succession and resemblance. Since most of it was based on an approach seen in natural sciences and physics, in particular, he preferred the term, and again, I quote, social physics over sociology.
That's nerd. Social physics.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was wondering why social physics wouldn't have caught on, but I feel like sociology, I don't know, maybe it would have caught on if it sounded like, because it doesn't really have anything to do with actual physics. So it feels like it's a little bit harder to like make the linguistic comparison to like just studying something versus, you know, the physics of physical things. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I can explain it later a bit better with another sociologist.
Yes.
Well, also sociology, you know, ology, the is like the ending for the study of something. And society, socio is like social, so it makes more sense as a word. Social physics is like you attach it too much to physics. You attach yourself too much to something that you don't want to be. Which, I mean, he did try to be that, but for something entirely different.
So basically what I said, except said by someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Who has a degree, yes.
If you want to put it like that, then yes.
Perfect.
Basically what I said was with a degree.
There you go.
Okay, social physics. It's based on the following methods. Do you know them? There are 4.
Social
No.
physics? No,
I'm gonna say,
I
I'm
do
gonna hit
not.
you with a no, Chief.
I did take sociology for like an elective in college one time, but it was so base level and it was in one ear and out the other. I'll be honest, I did it to just get my diploma. So I might have learned that, but I don't remember.
It's all right.
At all.
I don't.
You really hurt Babo's feelings there, personally.
I don't think you would have learned.
Well, no,
that
but I mean,
much.
like, I like learning about sociology stuff from Babo though, because it's like, I don't know, he makes it interesting and engaging,
Thank
as
you.
opposed to just like an online class.
I learned sociological concepts, but I don't remember Frenchman because I hate the French language. So
I hate the French. Quote it.
Oh yeah, put in the sound clip
excusez-moi.
of Lexi saying that.
I hate the French. Oh my goodness.
Look, Babo,
the
continue
French.
though. Sorry, we keep interrupting you.
Yes, please refresh me on these 4 things.
Yeah, these
Yes.
4 things are observation, experimentation, comparison, and historical analysis. So observation is the subordination to static and dynamic laws of phenomena rather than how to observe without bias. When this is unguided by any kind of theory, it basically means that observation is useless for developing science. So if you don't have any sort of basis to go on or a lead, then what are you even doing? Because
Interesting.
you can't just
That
go
makes
willy-nilly
sense.
with that. When you want to like write a paper, for example, and you want to publish that, usually you have a basis you want to go on. If you don't have a basis,
Right.
which is your theory, then people might as well think you're making shit up. And you don't want to
Right.
make shit up.
Oh, yeah.
You want something to go on. And even back then, when there were not a lot of sources, your theories had to have some sort of basis.
Yeah, it had to
and usually
follow,
it's
I
literature.
assume, some sort of logic statement of if I, see this stuff, then this stuff is my prediction or whatever.
Yeah. For example, cats, but we're gonna get to that in a moment.
Ooh.
Next thing, experimentation. In Compt's case, it involves learning from pathological social events and introducing artificial elements to see how these events adjust to it. So kind of like what Ibn Khaldun was already kind of doing before. Kind of like how human bodies react to diseases and how medicine helps with recovery. To find a cure, experimentation is required, right? So you may introduce artificial conditions or factors into the body to see what happens. That is experimentation. It's explained in a biological way, since he's stealing from other sciences already to explain his own stuff. We might as well go with it. Which is
makes
a
sense.
big problem with sociology in general, because a lot of people describe sociology as not its own science, because basically, what does sociology have? I mean, it's the analysis of social systems, so I think that's reason enough for it to exist. But some scientists
I was going to
are
say,
like
yeah, that's a
willy-nilly
pretty
about it.
important thing, especially in this the last few centuries as we've actually gotten brain cells.
I can see the diehard science people, though, arguing against that.
But you already have
Eh.
politics and social psychology and philosophy and physics and biology and mathematics and all the
Weather.
other sciences. Yeah, you have meteorology, like you have the science of weather that explains humans very well, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Kind of
Yeah.
actually, yeah. I'm not going to get into that because it's not my episode, but yeah, actually, more than you'd think.
Ooh.
Nugget.
Okay, from nuggets to comparison. Comparison is basically just you gain insight by comparing things to the animal world, other states, past systems, etc. Basically, what I did in my master's thesis, I compared two education systems and the chances of success for immigrants within those, basically the German and Canadian education system. That is comparison. I mean, comparison, you already know what it is,
Cool.
but applying it to sociology itself, you try to analyze human behavior from one group to another. Or a group
Yeah, okay.
and a system, like consumer behavior towards X company, Nintendo, or whatever. And then we have the historical analysis. It's separate from the previous three methods as it requires extra attention to analyze historical movements in societies. But we already went into that with Ibn Khaldun, how he did it with like comparing dynasties and such. It's basically the same thing. I don't want to re-explain that. You already have the idea of that. If not, go back in the video and listen to it again.
Rewind like 15 minutes and then come back here.
Yeah.
We'll wait. It's fine.
Rewind 15 minutes and quote the first thing we're saying. That is probably it.
There you go.
Oh, no.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, essentially he saw sociology as an extension of biology plus physics. The study of social organization where the organisms are its organs. And I think that's a very interesting way to look at it. I think that's the one
And
thing where I'd
what
say I can
time
agree
period
with him.
was this again? Can you refresh me?
He was doing it throughout the 18th century. Yeah, that was like
Okay.
400 years later. And as such, social structures cannot be reduced to individuals. So basically, it is not psychology. It has to be seen in relation to other structures. You cannot separate this.
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
But with the increasing differences, how do you even define core aspects of social structures? I have another quote for that. Hence, human social organization is maintained by 1. Mutual dependence of system parts on one another. 2. Centralization of authority to coordinate exchanges among parts. And 3. Development of a common morality or spirit among members of a population. To the extent that differentiating systems cannot meet these conditions pathologically, states are likely to occur. So there is more to his theories, but I want to make a cutoff point here because he is remembered and he will always be remembered as the name giver of sociology, and it's his adamancy towards trying to establish his science as a form of physics or natural science. I think that's very interesting. But at the same time, I feel like, that was at a time where things were still kind of new-ish. So I'll give him that. He was trying to make something out of barely anything. I don't want to criticize him too much for trying to create a new science.
Bro was a
That
pioneer.
Reminds me a lot of our Sigmund Freud episode where I said a similar sort of thing about how he was trying to come up with some of these things. And so, was all of the things that he thought of accurate? No, but he was trying to give rise to like, hey, this is worth looking into. This is worth considering. And so it sounds like a similar sort of thing here of, not perfect, but like, hey, he was onto something. He was trying to stress the importance of this.
Yeah, but unlike Sigmund Freud, he was less of a sexist asshole and more of a god complex asshole.
Makes sense.
Because
Makes
he thought he
sense.
was the shit.
Let's go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Two different kinds of asshole.
Yeah.
There's always got to be ego. Always got to be ego.
And
Of course.
I give these
if you're that
people
steadfast in inventing something new, you kind of have to be a little bit egocentric.
exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to get at. If you invent something new, I think to a degree you're allowed to be a little bit of an ego. You're allowed your ego, but
As long as you're not being like a dick.
Yeah.
But you're allowed to acknowledge if you do something new.
I mean, he basically found a way to implement empirical research into social analysis, and it's still used to this day. So there you
Right.
go.
There we go.
Anything else? Did I forget to say? Did you guys understand what I was just quoting? Is there anything you want to ask about that? Because I didn't say anything to it. Or do you want me to read it again?
I'm gonna be real. There were a lot of big words in that, so I tried to take away the main idea. But there were lots of big words.
Lots of big words.
We can read it again really quickly.
Yeah, quote, hence human social organization is maintained by mutual dependence of system parts on one another, centralization of authority to coordinate exchanges among parts, and development of a common morality or spirit among members of a population. To the extent that differentiating systems cannot meet these conditions, pathological states are likely to occur. Put more simply...
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Basically, it's what we were talking about before. It's just a nice way to summarize things.
I was going to say, to me, it just sounds like how society is right now and historically.
Like social order. Yeah, that social order is, needs these elements in order to work.
Exactly. We do have different parts of our system consists of different parts, like, for example, cultures, subcultures, systems, other systems like institutions, and what I said at the very beginning before I started talking about sociologists and their opinions and how these things develop over time, and that we're like more than just us, we're just bits of a much bigger system. And those systems do have pathological states. They will occur, and it is on us to analyze these and understand it and try to make something of it. That is the core of what sociology can do for you.
That makes sense.
Okay, game time. I have a game.
A game?
Gaming!
Oh my goodness.
Gamers, get on your gamer chairs.
That's why you brought up Nintendo earlier. It was foreshadowing.
Wipe your stains from your cheeks. I don't want...
Oh.
Yeah, no. Okay.
Get a Kleenex on that.
Yeah, get a Kleenex. Okay, which one of these people is not a sociologist?
How could you forget I can't say that word. Sociologist.
Historical sociologist, yes.
Okay, 4 people, right? The first one is Émile Durkheim, another French person, Marx, Barbaros, me, and Slavoj Žižek.
Okay, can you read them again so I can have
Émile Durkheim, Karl Marx, Barbaros, and Slavoj Žižek.
Huh. I'm caught between two. I'll let Lex. I'll go last.
Okay.
Say, Gordon, do you want to go? I'm thinking.
I'm going Barbaros. I'm going Babo.
You're gonna say.
You're saying he's not a sociologist?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I know I'm wrong, but I don't want to butcher any other words, so I'm just taking the L.
Okay. I have heard of 3 of these people. I don't know who Barbaros is. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I've heard of 3 of these people. I know for certain one of them is.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Karl Marx is not a sociologist.
All right. What's your bet?
So the remaining 2 is how do you say his name?
Slavoj Žižek.
Slavoj Žižek.
Yeah.
And then the French one. I don't remember her name, but I know she's French. I would say Slavo then. Because I think he's more of just like a philosopher type than a sociologist. I'm going to lock in that answer. I'm going to say that dude is the not sociological man.
Okay, Slavoj Žižek is actually not a sociologist. He's a he's a cultural theorist, which is not exactly a sociologist.
He was the only one I hadn't heard of on that list. I knew Durkheim.
Really?
Yeah, I knew Durkheim was because of his overlap with religion. Like when you study religion.
I'll be honest, I did not know that. I didn't know that Karl Marx was a sociologist. I figured he was just like a really cool communist dude. That was my only thing
that like kind of threw me off. I'm like, I could see the elements there, but I'm like, it's possible that maybe he wasn't. So
maybe, yeah. I mean, I believe that he could have studied it. I just didn't know that he actually like worked in that or was that at one point.
Here's the thing. Actually, technically, he isn't, but he's so ingrained into social studies at this point that he might as well be retroactively.
Like they're like, you're an honorary sociologist.
Yeah, like he gets given the credentials. Yeah.
Technically,
well, still counts. I win. Awesome.
Yeah, technically you could try to say the same about Slavoj Žižek, but I don't give him the same thing Karl Marx. Karl Marx is a different kind of beast. He analyzed almost everything.
Yeah.
Also, he invented communism.
That's very true. I don't know. Let's give Slavo like a couple hundred years. See what happens.
That's
Yeah.
why I said that in the beginning of the
Originally-
episode. I knew Babo was going to mention this for the game. That's why I said, sociology made communism. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
True.
Everything's connected.
Originally, I wanted to pick 4 people that are not sociologists and just throw you off and pick me in there as well. But then I was
That's
That
like,
would
so
have been
funny.
funny.
at this point, I can't not consider myself a sociologist because not because just of my degree, but of how much I learned.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say the amount that you're invested in like understanding of
You've
it.
also
it's
done
like,
a lot of research and stuff and had to write a lot of things about
I've had
it.
to write
so.
so many papers. I think I wrote
Yeah.
throughout my entire studies, I wrote at least 20 papers,
Yeah.
not including
Good
my
God.
bachelor's and master's and big paper.
damn. I'm glad I just went to a college for like filming stuff.
Yeah,
I barely had to write anything. It was so great. It was perfect for me.
I barely had any exams. I had take-home exams, but that's not
Ooh.
the same.
Wow, interesting.
no.
Wait, what's
Yeah.
a take? Sorry, a little bit of a tangent. What's a take-home exam? Like, do you literally just go? Is that just homework? Like, you just fill it out and then give it back?
Yeah, no, that's
kind
exactly
of.
it.
Damn. Okay.
You have like a few, for us it was like this. We had a few tasks, like 5 different tasks, and we had to pick 2 of them and do them. And I recycled the paper I already
Interesting.
wrote, so nobody noticed and cared.
Hey, it's not stealing if it's from yourself. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, if you already done the work, why do it again? You know, just
I mean, there is something called self-plagiarism.
I know.
I
I think
didn't
that's
plagiarize
bogus.
myself.
Yeah.
I did
think
write it
that's
differently,
bogus.
but I basically recycled content I already used.
tomato, tomato. It's fine.
Yeah, tomato, tomato. It would have been funny if any one of you said Emile Durkheim, because that's the next person I want to talk about.
Woo!
Perfect.
I know a little bit about him.
He was a French sociologist, another French person. French people define sociology, and I don't like it. Not because they're French
Yeah,
people,
I
but
don't
because,
like I don't like how France is a stranglehold on the concept of society. This is freaking me out.
Yeah, it might have been the
Joker is
colonialism, who
French
knows?
confirmed.
Oh my god.
No.
Ah, yes, oui, the Joker.
Everyone, the Instagram alpha male account's having a crisis because their leader is French.
He saw sociology as an anti-utilitarianism science. Let me explain it in brain rot language. It's luck maxing.
Okay,
I understand
all right, that makes sense.
now.
Yeah. Wow.
I still don't understand. Can I get a basic definition of this? It's not brain rot.
Okay. Wait, but luck maxing, how do you not get that? Okay, no, I get
I don't
that
know.
you wouldn't get it.
Basically,
Yeah.
utilitarian science is when the French go and sociomog everyone in the.
Oh my god. Okay, we can move on. It's fine. I don't need another definition. I don't
Sorry,
get it,
no,
but
sorry.
whatever. That's fine.
It's when you maximize your benefit from everything and make yourself more happy. Utilitarianism.
Okay, so it's
Okay.
a similar definition to when like a tool is that way. Like it's a
I'm going to use it to the
like
best
if
of my
it's
ability.
like a actual physical tool of like you can use this tool for so many different things.
Yeah, but you're going to use it to the best of
Okay.
your benefit to make
Okay.
yourself happier. So basically, it's almost like optimistic opportunism.
Okay,
Is that right? Yeah, I don't know. I almost stumbled over my own word.
I get it now
Uh,
though. Yeah, so that made
You're
sense
good.
to me.
Isn't English like your third or second language? Like you're fine.
Technically third.
Technically
you know,
third. Yeah.
you know English better than I do, and I don't speak any other languages, so
You speak
exactly.
German, Lexi. Don't even lie.
I do not. I speak like 2 words in German. That's it.
That is also
Traitor.
very false.
Emile Durkheim saw economism, geez, what another word, as the basis of social order. So if you follow economists who assume everything comes from and goes back to the individual, if that's the only reality, then our reality would be very restricted, according to him.
Okay.
Yeah, because economy rules everything.
And that's like money economy, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, the money economy. There are many acts that can be committed which are viewed as criminal. He was also going into that, but yeah, kind of a jump. Murder is one of them and calls for the highest punishment, still deorganizing a social body through economic crisis, for example, through a market crash is seen as worse than one person getting lost forever. like through death.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Okay, so what happens to a society on a larger level is held at a higher weight than individual actions or
Yeah.
situations? Okay.
I mean, that's basically how our law work nowadays. So if someone ruins someone's life forever by criminal act, that usually doesn't get as much of a punishment as someone stealing money from millions of people because they're robbing a bank or something.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So so society isn't an order that can be abbreviated through calculation of benefit. Society as a reality is beyond rationality and economic order to him. In my opinion, very important to mention is that because reality gets distorted through billions of different people and their views of the individual, or rather, different societies have different views, thus different realities. Even if they are similar in most aspects to ours, there's always differences to account for. He didn't mention that. I wanted to throw it in there. Does that make sense? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
There's no such thing as objective truth.
Yeah, okay. His work is split into two different sections, which first of it is labor division and anime. The true meaning of labor division is to form a sense of solidarity. For example, martial or sexual labor division. Organic solidarity makes labor division work because our differences, freedom, private right, and stronger relations through such define it. So far,
Okay,
so
I'm
good.
trying to digest
Any
that
questions? Yeah, right.
A little bit.
I'm trying to
So
make a break here.
he's saying that basically labor, so he's talking about labor division and that it's separated out by sex, so saying that there's male jobs, female jobs, and then
Steve
what was the
Jobs.
other things? Steve Jobs. What was
Steve
the other
Jobs.
division he was saying there was?
Yeah, the organic solidarity makes labor division work because our division, our differences, our freedom, our private rights, and stronger relations, they define it. So like,
And what is private rights, like specifically,
Like
like
your
what do those entail?
liberties, like your individual.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
it's kind of linked
Okay.
to freedom. So
Interesting. Oh, he's
But in a
eagle
more-
maxing.
Yeah,
He's
kind of.
There you go. You're learning.
The brain rot is
Exactly.
finally setting in.
But yeah, all jokes aside. Okay. No, I had to be brain rotted for 5 seconds. All jokes aside. Okay, that makes sense. Is that each society's what they are allowing their people to do / what freedoms they have, what the division by sex is, what the division by I would assume probably class would be in there as well.
Yeah, you
Okay.
could put it in there. Also, I should make it more digestible for people at home. The difference between freedom and private right in this sense would be freedom is like you can act freely within a set of rules. We're going to get to that in a moment because there is something very interesting about how he defines freedom or like what it can lead to. And
Okay.
I mean, both of these are specifically thought of and within the laws of a country, but private rights are more so your protective shield, I'd say.
Okay.
The freedom to act and the privacy you have.
Basically, yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of-
Like you have the freedom to do whatever, and you also have the right to not have people do whatever to you.
To not cut into your freedom. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I was looking for. And moral in this context is then something that isn't individually, but rather collectively viewed and formed.
Oh, interesting.
Without
Okay.
morality or rules, enemy takes over. And this is where we get to, I'm going to put a trigger warning here because there is words that I specifically wrote down as self-oof.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm going to
Yeah.
still mention it as such. But
You can use the real words when you get there, but yeah, I appreciate the trigger warning for
Yeah.
sensitive
Okay.
topics ahead.
All right, we have 4 kinds of suicide, which first is selfish suicide. Then we have altruistic suicide, anomic suicide, and fatalistic suicide. The anomic suicide thing is something I will explain a little better further into it, but I'll go through it pretty quickly still.
Quick question. Is this
Yes.
applied to as society as a whole, or these are the individuals in the system?
The individuals in a system and then what that constitutes within
affects-
society.
Okay.
But we are just
Yeah,
looking
okay.
at the individuals now, and you can probably make a guess of what that means for society.
Right.
Because it's sort of in there. Selfish suicide is when the individual recognizes nothing higher than itself. So like when you egomax completely and you don't know what to do anymore.
Oh my God.
Altruistic suicide would be the exact opposite, and the individual doesn't matter in society. So when you never leveled up your ego at all, anomic suicide is when the individual gets lost in the sauce. That's how I wrote it down.
Oh my goodness.
When you have too much freedom, basically. So you're suffering. Okay, there you go. I'm gonna link it back to the Sonic episode. Suffering from endless possibility.
Woo!
Yeah.
We love a callback.
References.
Yeah. Basically, if the individual doesn't have some sort of societal authority to guide it through society, there would be a quote-unquote reason to commit anomic suicide. And then we have fatalistic suicide. The individual feels like there is no way out because there are too many rules. And
interesting.
I think the last one is much more interesting to me than the former one. Like fatalistic suicide is a lot more interesting to me because I feel like I have met people, I know people that do see things as more fatalistic than they are, in my opinion, because
interesting.
Looking at it more objectively, we do have quite a bit of freedom. I mean, at least I can say in Germany, we do have quite a bit of freedom in how we can move and act and whatever. And I would say in Canada, almost the same case. In America, you guys have to tell me.
At times. It depends.
You know, the jury's out right now, I think, on that.
Depends on the year.
It's true.
But for the most part, I do think, to dive a little bit deeper on this, not too long though, for the most part, I do think on an individual level, there are still quite a bit of freedoms that American citizens are able to have. It's just it's gotten a lot more interesting in the last few years as to what groups of people have been affected by that. So I would say we're kind of on the downturn of that right now. But for the most part, I think that there are still, individuals can still live a rather uninterrupted life, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to minimize any of the awfulness that is going on in America, but
it's interesting you say that about the country that defines itself through its freedom.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like
freedom for some people.
If you're yelling about freedom all the time, are you really free? Do you have to scream it every day?
Exactly. That's what I was. Yeah. I mean, Germany is kind of turning into budget America at the moment.
Oh, no.
Which I consider a little bit of a problem. But Hamburg is still safe.
Well, that's good.
Since we still have different states. Federal. I don't know if people. Maybe some of you don't know listening right now. Germany consists of 16 federal states. And I can only tell you how it is in Hamburg. We're pretty much one of the only ones that still consider ourselves green and middle left.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well,
so there's a pretty large conservative push in Germany at the moment as well.
Not only conservative, but also right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Hamburg is leaning more towards the left side and the green side because I can only tell you through... I'm not telling you from my personal opinion, but from how people vote here. We do have the voting counts, and that the last time I checked, which was during our last official votings for our new prime minister, it was like that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. To go just a bit more into anomic suicide and fatalistic suicide, social order, according to Durkheim, is a moral fact, and it helps to regulate individuals. The stronger the bonds, and the less selfish one will act, that usually helps.
So is he also saying that there's like a social responsibility as it applies to how people view not just themselves, but these 4 different types of suicides that he's outlining? He's saying that there's a social obligation to say, hey, whatever is going on, you might cause this. Like you might cause this certain type of suicide.
I don't think he or any scientist, social scientist, would point at it and say, hey, this is your fault. He would rather say, objectively
or just like a
speaking,
factor of it.
Yeah, it would be more of a factor. You have to stay professional in this, and professionally speaking, and I know you would, just generally speaking, if you point at something, you need to have a reason to do so. And the best way to do it is have backup for it. So if there is something that could be the case like that, which you just explained, he would probably have some backup for it. And since he has formed this sort of theory, I would assume he analyzed it to quite an extent to make something like this.
I would hope.
Agreed.
Yeah, so that's basically about labor division and anami. Now we're getting to collective expectations, classification systems, and religion. There you go. There is your religion.
Woo!
There is your god.
Call back.
Yeah, pick a god and pray, because religion is a form of social order because of the teachings and religious scriptures and such. You know how religion is defined through holy and profanities. So holy things are protecting prohibitions, and profanities are the things that directly lead to the things that we are prohibited from doing.
Yeah, okay.
So the holy also constitutes authority, and religion is not just defined through this, but also through classification. So a system of symbols through which society recognizes itself as such, as a society. And classification is an authoritative and beyond individual order system for nature and culture. I like that he's using specifically the words beyond individual order, because you can probably tell what it means.
Society.
Yeah.
And lastly, religion is also defined through ritual practices through which society becomes metaphorically tangible, like cults, for example. So there you have your social orders again and how to analyze these things. The imagination of the whole becomes the societal experience. So imagining there is a higher being that constituted everything, and the idealization or imagination of the collective as heightening of emotions and realization, which does sound complicated, but basically that just means the ideal thing you want to get closer to does heighten how you feel and what you feel. It leads you to, how do I say this without sounding weird? Let me say it in Final Fantasy VII terms. You want to get to the promised land by practice of prayers and such.
It gives you motivation in a sense of like, this is my end goal. I will do what I need to do to reach that end goal because I'm that committed to it.
Exactly. All right. And that is it for our classics that I wanted to talk about a bit more. I will just name drop a few more people. We already had Karl Marx. He is a German philosopher. He's also a sociologist. I'm just going to call him a sociologist because at this point he kind of is. He's also an economist. He's a very important political figure. I'm just going to leave it at that. He's a lot more things. I don't know them off the top of my head.
You could do a whole 2-part episode on just him alone.
How could you forget Karl Marx?
Definitely. How could you forget communism?
That's a good episode.
Then we have Max Weber. He's also a German sociologist. He's kind of Karl Marx at home. He's Karl Marx for the common folk.
Great value, Karl Marx.
Common Marx.
Common Marx.
Common Marx.
And then you have rare Marx and mythic Marx.
Ooh, got a whole system.
Yeah. We also have Bruno Latour, a French philosopher and anthropologist, but also important for sociology. He has brought us things like actor network theory, which basically is him saying, hey, everything that exists is connected to everything you know. So, for example, if you buy a smartphone, the smartphone has been sold to you by a person. So you're connected to that person already through that kind of system.
Oh, like everything is a web?
Yeah. And that smartphone has been made by people, all these parts that consist of it, even the money you spend on it, that money has been with someone else at some point. We're all connected through these things, and they put us into a social system that we don't even realize that we're in. But then at the same time, he also said at some point, hey, that theory is kind of shit. I don't know why I made it. Because it doesn't make sense. And that's what I thought when I first read about it, which is funny because he confirmed myself. It's not his exact words. He had more complicated words to put it in, but I'm like, that's exactly what it means. I'm gonna run with my version.
Yeah.
And then we also have Niklas Luhmann, which is probably the most interesting German sociologist and sociologist in general to me. He was also a philosopher, but he invented something that's called system theory. And first of all, he was one of the only people who actually realized that he's just a dude who's making shit up.
He's just a dude. I'm just a dude.
No, but seriously, with all these people, all of them to some degree thought they're hot shit. But he was like, well, I know I'm just making things up. So please realize that everything I say might as well be wrong. But here's my theory. And then he started to drop
You
the
think I'm the
mic.
shit? I ain't even the fart.
Oh
Sorry.
my gosh.
No, that's interesting though. That's cool. We got someone without like a giant ego.
Yeah.
True.
There's a lot to him. I'm not going to go too deep into his stuff, but basically he was looking at interactions of what I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like how organizations, institutions, and other social systems, like groups of people, how they interact with each other, what that means, how they communicate, and communication is one of the biggest factors in his theory. And I think that's very interesting.
Oh.
I want to go into that. Just that kind of the smallest tidbit, because he says that communication is very important, of course, but it's not really possible for it to work. So basically, you're transmitting information, then you have to receive it, and you have to understand it. And usually it fails at the understanding part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you a funnier example, and then I'm going to give you the actual communication example through words. The funny example would be, if you want to communicate something to someone, you can do that in various ways, right? Through mimics, gestures, and so on. But you can also, for example, send someone a letter. Let's say you leave a letter at home for someone else to read, and that home burns down. That would also mean that the communication never worked because the medium you used for communication got lost. That was the example I was given during my studies. And I always thought of that as very funny, because how unfortunate would it be to think that, God, my apartment burnt down. I couldn't tell the person what I wanted to tell them. But like, you're all fine, and that's much more important.
Right. That's going to be your main concern, was that your letter got burned up and not everything else that you own.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously,
my letter.
yeah.
Of course.
Letter was important to me.
Oh my God.
It was the letter G. It's my favorite.
Yeah. It had a funny stamp on it. I made it myself with wax, and I had this nice stamp, and who cares?
I put so much work into it.
I sealed it with my blood.
Ooh.
That would be wild.
Nice.
I don't think that works. Unless you coagulate it.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. You would probably have to mix it with something else.
Probably.
The more common example, which we all experience every day, is double contingency. Do you know what that means?
It sounds like a
No.
title of a movie.
It really does, though.
James Bond, double contingency.
Yeah, it sounds like a Bourne movie.
The Bourne contingency, yeah.
Remember the James Bond title? Because I think that would be very funny to put into perspective when I explain it. So basically, when you tell someone something, like I'm telling you something, you have a different way of understanding what I'm telling you than I do. Because I understand something the way I do, and you understand me the way you do. Right. And now let's flip that back one more time. What is my expectation of you understanding me? That is double contingency. So
Yeah.
how it already creates a dissonance in how I want to say something to someone else, which is where communication usually fails. It almost fails every time.
Damn.
But we still do it because there's no other way we can talk or communicate in general. So now
Well,
James
because
Bond double contingency.
I think the principle of, like, you know, if you tell somebody something, so for example, if you're like, hey, put the roast in the oven at 2:00, even if they receive it in a strange way, if they're getting the bulk of the information about roast, okay, 2:00, then it doesn't really matter a ton if the rest of it kind of got, you know,
jumbled up,
received in a different way, because the base was still the same. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the best way I can explain it is words already have a set meaning. So that helps with communication. If both know what these words mean, if you can extract emotion out of it at least a little bit, that can help. But that's the problem. We're emoting beings, and usually communication works best with emotion, but it also doesn't work because of what I just said, because we're thinking.
Yeah, because different people in different emotional states can interpret things differently, right?
Yeah.
True.
And that's the next thing.
That's so facts.
Time changes everything as well, or timing. Because you already said something very interesting, Camp. When I'm in my current state, where I'm feeling rather neutral, or I'd say, well, I can take things differently. Whereas, like, for example, tomorrow morning, when I'm already grumpy and I don't want to wake up and go to work, if someone then talks to me, I'd probably be like, please don't speak to me. I'm not operable until like 5 hours into the day.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't had my
exactly.
coffee yet.
Your
Yeah,
emotional and mental state affects your ability to receive information.
exactly. And there are so many factors that we as human beings have to account for, and we created automatisms for most of these things. We don't notice them, but I mean, okay, that's more psychology or social psychology than sociology.
True. Yeah.
But I mean, it still works.
It's okay. Still interesting to talk about.
Yeah, and that's
Still
basically-
involves society.
Society always goes back to society.
Yeah. There's one more person, which is Gabriel Tarde, another French sociologist and criminologist. So he, and I'm gonna tie that back to what Auguste Comte said about social physics, because now we can apply physics to sociology. He started out by calling sociology interpsychology and then applied concepts of other disciplines like physics to his theories. Noteworthy in this regard would be diffusion. Do you know what diffusion is in physical terms?
Oh.
Like science
I-
diffusion, like chemistry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, chemistry, physics, like when something spread.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because I know in like photography and stuff like that, like a diffuser is designed to like scatter
Oh,
light
light.
and like because it can like fill stuff. Yeah, so that's just kind of the process of that.
Yeah, so in other words, spreading something from a point of higher concentration to a point of lower concentration. In other words, spreading like a disease. In his case, specifically spreading ideas of all kinds. Relevant example for today's age would be social media. It works exactly on that concept. You have
Interesting.
something you want to say.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you have a stupid president saying things on their social platform again, and it spreads like wildfire to the point of concentration where they want to get it to.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're welcome, America.
I was gonna say that's an unfortunately great example.
Yeah. Sadly. Okay. I'm not trying to make too much fun of that, but I think it's the best example I can give for anyone to understand. Okay, now that I've injected my own social and political views more into this episode, let me get to something else. What constitutes something as social, and what exactly is sociology for? That would be the wrap up for the episode, I think, but there is still a little bit I can tell you about this. As already established, social aspects can be found in all kinds of places. The meaning of social comes from interaction. Sociology does analyze these interactions and thus can thrive on its own. Some argue that sociology shouldn't or couldn't exist without interdisciplinary examples, or it can't exist without being interdisciplinary because that's its basis, if you look at Comte, for
Right.
example. But I argue that because something like social contracts already make up a lot of what sociology is, and you cannot really explain that with something else. No other. Well,
Just because it has
technically-
elements of other things doesn't mean that it's not its own unique thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, look at physics. Most of it is math, and math is its own quote-unquote science. So you could
Right.
say that
True.
physics are not its own thing either. Or, well, biology might be. So social questions, social workers, and social contracts would be one of the only things that give the word social its own identity. Little did they think that one could argue social contracts are technically a juristic thing, making that point invalid. In my opinion, at least. So show me one science that isn't interdisciplinary. Show me one science that
Right.
doesn't rely on social aspects. There is none. It becomes social the moment we come up with things. We have to communicate. Communication is something social in and of itself. And it doesn't work, but we still have to do it. So by that definition, it is impossible to do anything without being social in some way, because you can stretch the meaning of this in all directions and not really be proven wrong entirely. At the same time, it doesn't matter, because in my opinion, it would be a waste of time trying to prove something so trivial, right? Because
Yeah.
all these things still have their right to exist. We made them
Right.
up, so let these things just be what they are. They helped us develop as a society.
Yeah, we've gotten this far with them. Just let's see how it goes the rest of the way.
Yeah, actually, good segue. Taking things a step further, our understanding of scientific research and knowledge as a whole is kind of like this. Everything is socially constructed and based on beliefs. Let me get back to the example of the cat, because we established some rules that work.
I was gonna ask when the cats would come back.
They're coming back right now. We know they work through repetition and making exceptions. That is basically what establishing rules is and what empirical science is. Example, you see 100 cats and they match the description of a cat. You define them as such. The 101st cat misses a leg. Is it still a cat? Probably yes, because...
No.
Oh, I have heard that before, I believe, or that sort of
I hope
concept.
so. Yeah, you would still say it matches the previous findings of what a cat constitutes. It's just slightly different. It's the exception to the rule, as we like to say. So this is called falsification. Falsification means, unless proven wrong, we believe in what we have found out. But the fun part is, we never truly know for sure. And if no one tries to replicate this kind of research process for the findings we established, we are stuck with old beliefs. So part of empirical research is repeating the same stuff over and over and over again just to reconfirm or find out new things. And it happens in every science. It happens in every science. We find out new things about medicine, medical field, the medical field in general. Like I said in the very beginning with how society can have its problems with pathological stuff and how if you introduce artificial elements.
Oh, yeah, during experimentation, where you're talking
Exactly.
about like testing for different scenarios and how the body reacts.
Thank you. Exactly what I mean. Like if you introduce stuff into the body artificially and then start experimenting with it, you make it pathological in itself, and that's how you can make new findings. Or you introduce artificial elements into something that is already pathological to see how it reacts to it. Like, for example, any kind of vaccine.
Right.
Because that would be an artificial element to something that is pathological and you're trying to fix it. Or to prevent it from becoming pathological at all. Which is what vaccines
establishing
usually
a
do.
defense mechanism.
Yeah. I want to wrap it up with basically everything we know is made up, right?
Yep.
Another example that I like, and people can fight me on that as much as they like, biology. Everything we know about human beings and males, females, and whatever, we made these things up as well. I mean, using the cat example again, we see 100 men and they all have their characteristic. But imagine if one of these men doesn't have what other men have, which is a penis. Is that person not a man anymore? No, there might be like either
maybe the criteria itself, maybe that needs to be changed or reevaluated. I know what you mean.
Exactly. Like, so if people get upset about other people redefining themselves and because they notice or like realizing that they're not themselves and want to become themselves, I have to say it like that because I don't know what else to how else to explain it. Let's say a man notices, hey, I don't really feel like I'm a man. I'm more like a woman and I want to be a woman. And then they go through the process of becoming a woman through hormones, therapy, and all that. Who are you and I or anyone else to say that that's not okay to do because it's all socially constructed anyway?
He said it.
We made that shit up. Even if there is any religion, to put it like Durkheim, that gives you that sort of order of men and women and nothing else is there in between, then sure, you can go with that. But why the f do you care?
I think it
I was gonna
goes.
say it's such a reductive way to view it.
I think it goes back to what you were saying before about the observation sort of a thing of, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we went, oh, okay, well, we're going to classify, you know, we're going to have two groups. We're going to make two groups. We're going to say men are over here. We're going to say women are over here. And we're going to say, you know, men is this because XYZ things, these physical characteristics that we see or whatever the predominant hormone is or whatever. And okay, women is same thing, you know, physical characteristics, hormones, all that jazz. So that's what's very interesting about not even just from the biological perspective, but then you get into the social aspect of like gender as a whole separate category here that is socially defined. And that's pretty well agreed upon, you know, between people who can rub two brain cells together. But when you're talking about biological sex, there's even a lot of information that we now have that is challenging that theory of that there was only ever two biological sexes, you know, because we're actually able to dive deeper in and look at, you know, what is the hormone composition? What sorts of, you know, reproductive organs is this person? What do they have, basically? And not to be like the person, I'm not saying it that matters, but the introduction of what we know about intersex people has actually really challenged that, even on the biological level of people that say, well, there's only male and female biologically, that's just how it is. That's actually incorrect, because there are plenty of people out there with combinations of organs/hormones that don't fit into this, oh, we have one box of biological male, we have one box of biological female. That's no longer a valid way of sorting things anymore.
You mean to tell me that there's more than 2 genders? That is oh no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, we don't have just 2 genders.
We support trans
I
people.
just wanted to make that joke.
We love trans people. I want to
Dude,
make that very
trans
clear,
people are
even
fucking
though
great,
we're
honestly.
talking about these very hot topics, if you will, that we love and support trans people. We're just discussing this from a perspective of social categorization.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
all that
it's a
jazz.
very like sort of research scientific centric episode. So like, of course, like we're coming at it from that language. Obviously, my soul is 100% on the side of trans people. Y'all are beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we just talking about it all fucking science like, and I do agree with Lexi too. It's like the ones that I have in my life, I know it's like there's almost like 2 different parts of transitioning, where it's like the biological transition if people decide to go that route, and then the social transition as well, which is also a big deal to navigate in and of itself. So
And it's
like,
because we've linked the social with the biological, right? Because we've said,
exactly,
you know, oh, these biological markers, these physical attributes are linked then to this social construct of gender that we have. So that's why it gets so
and therefore you have to
complicated.
act this way because that is the construct that you have.
Right.
Like basically,
Socialization.
everything's connected.
Yeah, everything is
Ooh.
connected. For example, I was socialized as a man. Sure, I do identify with that gender. I think it fits me. It is who I am. But at the same time, I don't care too much. It's not just me. If I would define just through that, then I don't know, I'd be a pretty bland person. And I don't think anyone should. Even if you don't see yourself as a man or a woman, if you're like non-binary, sure. I mean, that's completely fine. You should be who you want to be and what you feel like makes you the most.
And it is
Yeah.
social, the importance
There's
that we put on that as well. You know, while we're talking
Yes.
this, and I say we as the collective, we as in society, like the Joker.
Yeah.
Not us, just us 4 here, but yeah, I think that's a big issue that I take with things like this, is going back to what Babo said about how we as a species of humans have put pieces together and said, yes, we agree upon this. This is quote unquote fact. But I am also of the belief, and like Babo said, there are people that could fight me on this. I'm also of the belief of we still essentially made things up. You know, as a collective, people agreed on, you know, this is what we're going to call this thing. And they're like, great, awesome.
Exactly.
Even within languages that can differ as well. But, you know, it's the idea of if the first person to see a bird was like, oh my gosh, that's a bird. That's what we know to be a bird. Even if the word changes in another language, there would still be this
flap,
idea.
flap. Yeah.
Well, yeah, flap, flap, flappy bird. There would still be the idea of most people would look at that and go, oh yeah, this is a bird, or whatever bird is in their language.
And they're like,
Yeah.
bird up.
Bird up. No, but I like that too. I like the idea of like, I think I heard it like 4 years ago in a freaking YouTube video of all places, but it was essentially the metaphor of like, we're laying train tracks behind the train. Because the train is like our reality that we're just experiencing with no regard for us whatsoever. And then we try to lay down like foundation to understand it, like math and physics and biology and all this. But like we're still going through reality anyway. We don't really have time to slow down and really dissect everything, you know? So we're just making do with what we have in the world that we're in.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I can try and tie more things from the beginning back to where we are now. Because at the beginning I said something like, actually, what did I say? Give me a moment.
How
I
could
need to
you
go back to-
forget?
You forgot
Yeah.
your
We've come
topic,
full
Babo.
circle.
I did say we live in a society. No, okay. All this is pretty philosophical at the very end, like saying
Right.
that we should challenge ourselves every time with how we see things, and even science is trying to do that by repeating its own research to see if things are still the way they are or if we learned something new. There you go.
Yeah.
I found my point again. falsification. Every theory knows it's just a theory if it's a good one. And
Right.
by doing continued research, you either find new cases that don't fit your theory, which you have to account for and have to like make sure that during the process of falsification is accounted for, or maybe at some point your entire theory falls apart because falsification proves it to be entirely wrong and you have to rethink everything. So don't get stuck on just thinking that things are the way they are. They are the way they are currently because that's what we know now. And at some point that might change. If not, sure, then things stay the same. That is okay. If they do, then just be prepared that it might change.
Yeah.
True.
Psychology, for example, also changed quite a bit from when we started with Sigmund Freud to now. I mean, we don't believe anymore that our parents are the issues for everything and we all want to fuck our moms. There's a bit more to it.
Yeah. It's a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah. And also, I think the last thing I want to say, Socrates once said, I know that I know nothing. And I think that's basically what I always try to account for. I mean, this also, just as a last mention, nothing of what I say should be taken as nihilistic. I'm just very curious. It's almost the opposite. Nihilism and curiosity, they're not the opposite things of one another. I'm just not a nihilistic person. I'm not saying everything doesn't matter. I'm saying I'm interested in what things are and I want to find out. I'm just open for everything and think more than one thing can be true at the same time. And if at some point we found out God didn't just create man and woman, but actually more genders, then be prepared to be amazed or be open for it.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else? Any questions? Anything you didn't understand?
You know what else is amazing? All of our patrons over on patreon.com. Gurdon's Patreon, Camp's Patreon. Y'all make these episodes.
Oh my god, look, it's just my name.
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
it's
a
in there
Babo
somewhere.
supporter on our Patreon.
I'll try to line it up. We'll see.
Can you put it like that? Can you just change it for a moment that you just see my name multiple times?
Dun, 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 dun. There's like confetti.
Oh, that's going to be fun to edit.
But thank you all for listening. Thank you to our host this week, Barbaros, letting us know about sociology. This wasn't a
Thanks for
topic
having
that
me.
was recommended, but we do keep a list of those, so keep those comments coming. We're working on some future episodes for y'all. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, we live in a society.
So true.